Hello there, beautiful people. Keaton here, and welcome to this week's Nuclear Throne update video. This is update number 12, and Vlambeer are getting back into the swing of things, and so we've got a lot to talk about today. So let's just get right to it. Now, before I begin, I'm just going to quickly mention that we're going to switch up the format this week. In previous update videos, I would talk about the latest things listed in the changelog, and then give my little opinion after each one. But this week, I'm simply going to go down the list and then save my personal opinions to the end of the video. The actual menu bit that says my opinions on this update, yeah, we're gonna actually follow that now, so here we go. So before we get to update number 12, let's quickly take a look back at update number 11. Now in update number 11, we saw the addition of sounds for Chicken, Young Venus, and Low Hunter. We also got the addition of the quadruple machine gun, and the stats screen displays your best character along with your best kills, loops, and difficulty. And that was along with the assorted bug fixes and changes, etc. If you would like the full list, of course, you can always check out our previous video and or read the full changelog in itself. But let's move on to what you're really here about, update number 12. Now, I'm just going to preface this by saying this is probably going to be a short video because I have very little footage, and I apologize. But I'll get more to that when I actually talk about how I feel about this update. Anyway, now in terms of brand new content this week, let's first start with the more obvious thing that you're going to see when you first boot up the game. Vlambeer have added the character unlock system. So when you start the game up, you'll only have a few characters to choose from, but as you progress through the game, and so far the unlocks are not that difficult. Most just require you to simply make it to a certain point in the game, so if you reach the sewers, you'll unlock one character, if you reach the scrapyard, you'll unlock another, etc, etc. I believe there's only one so far that requires you to get a certain amount of kills, and that's 100. But yeah, Vlambeer have started toying around with the idea of unlocks, and apparently they're going to get more complex in the final version. Most mutations have their own sound effects, and I believe this is referring to when you select a mutation. Sad to say, the adorable, charming little doodles that we've had for so long are now pretty much completely gone. Yes, those little scribbly doodles that you may have seen that represented the mutations are now completely gone. So now, instead of those adorable little doodles, we have full-fledged icons with a dab of color, which I believe is an artistic choice. Also added was the flamethrower weapon, a dragon, and a flare gun. Gonna be honest, I played for an hour and a half, did not see any of those last 3, so take Vlambeer's word on it. And finally, the big news. I saved her for last because, to be honest, I have zero footage of this, and this is because of the character unlock system. But in its place, you're gonna be seeing some footage from the live stream that Vlambeer do of Rebel herself. Unfortunately, in the notes that I have right now for this update, they do not specify Rebel's abilities and characteristics. So yeah, I really have no information to give you guys on Rebel. That's why I saved her for last, because unfortunately I just don't have any information on her. She looks to be a female version of the Bandit. Hopefully, maybe I'll have more next week, I don't know. But it does seem that you unlock Rebel by reaching the Frozen City. So for all of you Nuclear Throne pros, it should be no difficult task for you to unlock her yourself. So that does it for new content this week. Let's take a quick look at the balances, fixes, and changes for update number 12. In an attempt to sort of balance the fairness of the game, I believe, Vlambeer have changed the way enemies spawn. So apparently now enemies spawn further away from you and no longer on the same X and Y axis. This is, I'm assuming, in response to a rather lengthy post that was made on the Steam forums. So it's interesting to see how people will react to this. Fish now has a completely new throne butt. Again, my notes of this changelog do not necessarily mention anything specific about this, but I definitely saw that Fish now propels forward with water. So I don't know if that's just a visual change or if there's more to it, but from what I could tell, there was no obvious significant difference in Fish's ability. Crown of Destiny no longer gives you infinite mutations, just one. Again, I barely know anything about crowns as is, so just take Vlambeer's word for it. Extra Stomach has now been renamed Second Stomach, and if you didn't notice on the character select screen earlier, any character that you have yet to play with has a little exclamation mark on it. Also noted were sounds added for various things in the game, such as Low Hunter screaming at you when He has 50% health. Portals have new sounds. Proto statues have new sounds. There's apparently a subtle sound that occurs when only one enemy is left. I did not play the game with headphones, so maybe the sound is a little too subtle. I don't know. Can't vouch for that. And super frogs have their own death sound. And that about wraps it up for this week's look at Nuclear Throne update number 12. Now let's just talk about what exactly happened with this update. Okay, look, I'm gonna start this off by saying that so far I have really enjoyed this game and the development, but I was hoping that the character unlock system would be one of the very last things they add, because not so much for me personally, but for the fact that I can continue to cover this game to my fullest ability. And the fact is that I'm not exactly the best Nuclear Throne player. So that's why you will see a lot of the time I will not have footage of certain things, because either A, I never reached them, or B, the RNG is just not there for me. So the fact that now I can't cover a brand new character because I cannot get to the stage to unlock her, that to me is frustrating, not because I want to play her, but because I want you guys to see her in action. And you saw earlier in the video, I have absolutely no information. I cannot convey to you anything about the Rebel character because I could not play her, I could not see her, and everything that I know about her is based off of third-party footage. I really feel like a failure as a content creator when that happens, you know, because I'm just lifting other people's footage and talking over it, and that's really not something I want to do on this channel, and that's really not something I want to be known for. And something that I've always wanted to do with these videos is not just be reciting the changelogs. I want to be there with the footage so that you can see these in action for yourself. But unfortunately, if this is the rate that it's going and everything now is going to be hidden behind these unlocks, and before I go on, I should just say that with every update that Vlambeer have done to Nuclear Throne, it wipes your save file. You cannot use that save file over again. So essentially what this tells me is, even if I get to the Frozen City, if I ever want to cover Rebel again in the future, I'm going to have to get to the Frozen City every single week. And I'm just not at that skill level where I can do that. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with these update videos in the future if this keeps up. I don't think they're that close to an official release yet. So the fact that they've added the character unlock so early means that there's a huge population that's not going to be able to test out Rebel. And I think you would want as much feedback on the characters pre-release, you know, than just a small number who can actually reach the Frozen City. Maybe I'm just in the minority and we're just not good enough to get there, but I feel like locking the characters is a pretty silly move right now. You know, I can understand giving people incentive to keep playing, but we are the early adopters. We have enough incentive from simple interest to play the game, you know. We're gonna play the game on a weekly basis regardless, because we want to see the new content that's been added or the new changes in action. I don't know. I can't agree with locking the characters when you're still in the quote-unquote alpha or even beta process, because again, that limits the number of people who are actually testing your game. So on that front, I just have to say that, I don't know, I'm slightly concerned. If things keep going this way, for me personally, I can't see these videos going on any longer. And as much as I really love this game still, and I really want to cover it, if my skill is not worthy enough to cover some of this content, then unfortunately I have to just either omit those completely from these update videos or something, I don't know. So we'll see what happens next week, but I'm really hopeful that they'll just remove the unlock for now and just save it for the end, because I'm assuming there are going to be a ton of fixes and changes to Rebel in the near future that I'll just simply not be able to talk about at all because I have not played her at all, and it's a real downer. But we'll see what happens next week. And thank you for watching. I hope some of it was informative. Feel free to inject your own opinion and helpful information into the comments below if you would like. I apologize for the lack of real consistent information this week, but again, it's a weird one. So yeah, thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.